Good to see you. Good to see you. This is a Monday. Happy Monday. Glad that you are here. So we're getting everybody loaded up, 7 o'clock. So it's time for more conversations on the couch. Bianca, I should be seeing you at some point. We got to catch up a little bit. So it's good to see you though, even across the virtual world. So good to see you. All right, tonight we're talking. Today I had shared some posts about red flags. So we are going to talk about red flags and have some conversations around red flags. Matter of fact, hold on one second. Let me see something real quick. Need to make an adjustment. So, but yeah, tonight's conversation is going to be a red flag conversation, and we're going to talk about it from a different perspective. These red flags and how we can move through our relationships and use red flags to actually help us, right? And so that we can maximize. Just typing something out real quick. Maximize our relationships. Hold on one second. Yep. There's a problem here. Yep. So sorry about that. Let me try this again. All right. All right. So we're good to go. All right. So in honor of the Philadelphia Eagles moving on to the NFC Championship game, I saw some stuff online and I had to throw the flag. I had to throw the red flag. So in football, you throw the red flag when there's an issue, when something comes up and they want to challenge the play, they throw a red flag. And so we know the red flag in relationships can mean a lot of different things, right? It can really mean that there's been something that we identified as being off, right? Something is just not right. Same thing in football. They're like, boom, throw the red flag. We're going to challenge the play. Okay. So that means we're going to put that thing under review. We're going to look at it. We're going to examine what we think to be a problem, right? And so red flags in relationships are the same. We can use the red flags that we see to challenge what we see or what we see being presented to us in relationships. And it should cause us to make change, right? If you recognize that there's a red flag being repeated, it should cause change. And so I got my flag out. I got my football because the Eagles are in the playoffs and we're talking red flags. And I have my whistle because sometimes when there's a penalty, you need somebody in your life that's just going to blow the whistle on the play. Stop all the action. Stop it right now. Don't do another thing, right? That's what you need to blow the whistle, just to stop the action. So right now, today, I'm just putting a little on the relationship action. Stop it. Stop everything right now. We need to have a little chit chat. Okay. And here's the chit chat. Let me just explain to you this thing about red flags. I see it constantly. I hear it, generalized complaints. This is one of the worst things that you can allow to be a part of your life if you want to have a relationship. If you are marriage minded, if you want to live intentionally and with purpose and have rich relationships, having a generalized mindset is a killer. In any relationship that you're going to be in, if you go into it just being general, you're not going to be that great. And therefore, you're not going to be that valuable. Let me just be honest. Someone called me yesterday, and this is a conversation. They called me specifically. They said, Brian, I know you have a lot of relationship wisdom. This is what they said, not what I said. And they said, so I need to ask you a question. And I said, what's that? And they're like, all right, well, there's this guy. I'm talking to this guy. We've been talking for a while. And he wants to, make some next steps and go to the next level. And he's talking about marriage and all this kind of stuff. And I said, okay. I said, so what's the problem? And I heard it in the voice. I heard it in her voice. She was already reluctant. So I'm sitting there listening. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you already know the answer. You're going to wait for me to validate what you already know to be true. I was like, well, tell me about the guy. Well, he's this. He's not real ambitious. He's a boring food person. He doesn't really like to eat food, which to somebody else, perfectly fine. But for this woman, these are red flags. Why? She's like, that's so superficial. He's a boring food person. Yeah. To a person that is a foodie and that enjoys food, his boringness, that's a red flag. Why? Because she enjoys going out to eat. She's a person that could do food reviews and just enjoy it. So if this person that's in her life isn't about that food life, wants to just eat boring, she's all organic. She loves all the organic stuff. And right, she's all about that. They're not about that. For her, she knows red flag. These are red flags for me. She's like, he's not really ambitious. He's not really ambitious or adventurous. Red flag. She wants to do things. She wants to go places. She wants to have adventures. These are red flags. Red flags don't always mean that the person lies. I mean, we bring it down to there's no good men. All men are liars and cheaters and all this stuff. First of all, that's not real. Lying, cheating, lack of conversation, lack of being able to hold a conversation. These are not issues for men. These are issues for people. Okay. First of all, because I'm a man and I can have a conversation with whoever I want. And, I can decide if I want to lie or not. But so can everybody else. So communication, that's not a male issue. So there are things that you don't want to say. I see this stuff online and you post, maybe not you specifically, but we see it. People post things and in general. And my question is, well, how did you become such an expert? How come you've had so many relationships with, people? How come you had so many relationships with men, so many romantic encounters with men that you've amassed so much information? To me, that's a red flag. I'm like, you done sampled at the buffet a little too much if you have all this research. What's really going on? So when we look at our generalizations, let's understand what we're doing. If we are very general, operating in generalizations, that also means that we probably, more than likely, are not operating well in intimacy. Because the more general you are, the more you expose that you do not have intimate knowledge. See, this is something different. If you said, my man is a liar, my man is a cheater, the man I am in a relationship with, or, specifically this guy. Oh, okay. How do you know? Because just yesterday he was lying to me about something. Okay, right. So now you know that. But if this has been a pattern for you, where you constantly see the same things over and over and over again, let me just tell you, it's not the other person's problem, it's yours. And I'm not being tough on you, but I am. But I do want you to realize that's on you. We attract, okay? Attraction is not something that we don't have any control over. We do attract people. Now, you might not be intentional about your attraction. You may not strategize it. Oh, but we can certainly do it. I can tell you the reason that you are here in this moment right now is because of years of things that I've done to be attractive to certain people. It's not on accident. It's on purpose. The conversations, the practice, the content that I create, how I create it, what's a part of the content, what I show you about my life, the things that I talk about, all of that it's creating an attraction for people that I like. I like being with the community that I develop. I like the demographics of it. I don't have a community of 20-year-olds. That's not necessarily my zone. When I look at the people that connect with me, they're generally 35 and older, 45 to 65 even. All good. I'm like, hey, because we can have a different kind of conversation, right? There's an intentional attraction. But if I started to see that I was attracting certain people, let's just say people that were mean or rude or had a particular stance and bent in life about topics, and they were real angry, for me, that would be a red flag. I'm like, whoa, red flag. I'm starting to see a pattern here. What's really going on? Like, what am I doing that keeps drawing these people into my life? What signal am I sending out? See, attraction is not just something that happens. You do it. You are attractive in certain ways, whether or not you know it. I had someone comment on one of my posts, and she was sharing how she's like, I attract men, and then within the first couple of times going out, they want to have sex with me. And she was like, well, and she's like, I'm not sexy or giving off that kind of vibe. And I said, look, you might want to check. You might want to check yourself, because clearly there's something. Well, first, let me sidebar this. You are more attractive than you even know, right? Like all of us. We are attractive to certain people more than we even know. And then when those people get an opportunity, then look, it's going to show up. But I'm like, hey, maybe you shouldn't be discounting your sex appeal. Maybe there's a vibe, the way you carry yourself, your confidence, whatever it might be, that is so sexually appealing to these men that they end up articulating it very quickly. So then the question is, well, but how do I control that? How do I stop that? All right, now we got to start thinking strategy, right? Like how do I strategize this? Okay, maybe I need some blockers. Let's think football for a second here. Maybe I need some blockers. Maybe I don't need to just go out, jump out just one-on-ones. Maybe that's too much for these guys. Maybe I need to do activities with groups of people, or, like maybe I need to slow down my pace before people get into these one-on-one situations with me. Since I'm seeing that this is a pattern, let me create more buffers. Let me create more obstacles. See, when the quarterback says hike, there are people that stand in front of the quarterback so that the other people don't just get to him, right? Defense. Perhaps the red flags that we keep seeing in our lives are because our defense isn't that great. And so we keep letting the same people, we keep seeing the same kind of person show up. Perhaps the reason you see the same kind of people show up is because you haven't made the shift in your life that you need to make out of a certain environment. Perhaps it's time for you to level up the conversations that you're having, the people that you are around, because where you've been, this atmosphere right here has a lower standard. Now, we're not going to be all emotional about this. There are different levels of standards. So if you're at the doormat standard, where you feel like people are walking all over you all the time, and they don't respect you, and you just feel like you're just being walked all over, that's pretty much what a doormat is. Time to level up. You don't have to stay there and be the doormat. You need to get into an environment where you start getting stronger. You need to look around and you say, okay, where can I go? Who can I be around? Who can I talk to? What can I do in my life that can change my mentality so that I'm not always thinking that I just need to be so passive? What can I do to level up? Develop a little bit more backbone, become stronger. What can I do? Who can I be around? What environments? What can I try? Perhaps you've been feeling like you're a doormat, and you might also feel like, oh, I'm so hesitant, right, about things. I don't want to upset the apple cart. I'm a people pleaser, right? All these things, they kind of all go together, a certain kind of mentality, a certain kind of vibe. Really, what it goes back to, the root of it being that there's a lack of confidence in oneself. So you feel like I need to please people in order to be accepted by them, in order to be validated. And it goes down to there's a level of desperation. So this woman that was talking to me, and she's telling me about this stuff, and she's negotiating in her mind about being with this guy who she does not want to be married to him. She already knows it, but she's asking me these questions. She's telling me these things about him. And I would ask her, I'm saying, so based upon what you know, she's like, she would say this, I just don't know if I should marry him or not. And I was like, well, if you had to make a choice right now, would you marry him? She says, no. She's like, but he could turn out to be. I said, wait, but he could end up being a good guy. No, he could be the right. No. I'm like, look, you said right now, based upon what you know, this ain't it. He ain't the one. So it was about 10:15 in the morning when she called me. I tell her, I said, look, it's 10:15. By 10:30, I want you to send me a text message letting me know that you ended this relationship. I was like, it's 10:15. By 10:30, let him know that the relationship is over, because you do not need to be wasting his time, because he's going to be sitting there being occupied by you, and you already know that you don't want to go. You don't want to go to that level. I'm like, so we're not going to keep wasting this man's time, and you don't need to waste your time. Time is of the essence. You don't need to be wasting time. I said, call him by 10:30. You got 15 minutes. This needs to be done. Break up. The breakup needs to happen. I'm like, we're not going to just be prolonging somebody's life, just stretching it out. I'm like, no, that's a red flag on you. If you can't step up and say, you know what? No, this isn't for me. This is done. Then that's a problem. That's a red flag on you. And she says to me, she says, but she, young lady, she says, she starts to cry. I can hear her on the phone. She's starting to cry. She's like, but you don't understand. I'm getting older. And what if no one wants me anymore? And I said, what? She said, what if no one wants me? I'm getting older. And then she said this, she says, and a woman's value goes down as she gets older and gets into menopause. She's about, 48, 49. And I'm listening. I was like, wait, where did you get that? Well, there's this guy, this is why you got these people online, you got to be very careful who you listen to. There's this man online. He talks about how women's value go down, and men don't want a woman that's, heading into menopause and been in menopause. I was like, for real? And then she said the person's name, and I was like, I said, you can't buy into that. That's garbage. I was like, for one, we're grown-ups here. I'm like, for one, there are some benefits to, going through menopause and not having babies and stuff anymore. I was like, that frees you up from having to buy condoms. You can just, y'all can get married, do your thing, and not have to worry about having babies. I was like, it's okay. I said, don't you think for a moment that your value is diminished simply because of your age? But then I said this. I said, don't you think for a moment that you're going to be valuable to everybody? See, here's the deal. If I want to, if I want something, or if you want something in particular, if we want something, then the only thing that is truly valuable to us is that thing. So if somebody, let's just say somebody wants to have babies. Say there's a man that wants to have babies. Like, all right, I want to have babies. Well, then a woman that can have babies is more valuable to him. Her value is going to be elevated because of what his desire is for his relationship. He's like, hey, I want to get married. I want to have babies. That's important to him. And good on that person. But somebody else that's in a different phase of life, there might be another man who he's like, I don't want babies. Like, I think about myself. I'm not in a I want babies phase. Like, no, I'm not in a baby phase. I'm in a being able to go phase. Like you when you have babies are different. I have babies. I had babies. And so babies, that was a different time in life. But now my children are older. They're getting ready to turn 17 and 21. And like, okay, you guys are ready to do your thing. Dad can roll. Right? And so understand, value is associated with your ability to meet and answer a specific problem, specific issue. I want babies. There's the problem, right? I can't have them on my own. If I want babies, I want to be in a relationship and get married to a woman that can have babies. Great. Some woman says to me, hey, I want to have babies too. Oh, okay, great. There's value associated with what we desire. You should not be, and you will not be valuable to everyone. But guess what? You might be like, it could be your physique. You're like, hey, I'm a little pudgy. Guess what? Somebody likes a little pudgy. And they don't want very thin. Don't sell yourself short. Somebody else you might be more thin. And guess what? Somebody doesn't want more pudgy. Whatever. Like, don't worry about that. Those are red flags. When you start discounting yourself because you think that you are not something, that's a red flag. That's your problem. And look, I got to call penalty on you. You got to stop doing that. You cannot diminish yourself and diminish your value simply because one person or two people or a group of people don't want you. Who cares about them? They ain't. We playing for an audience of one anyway. If you marriage minded, you're playing for an audience of one. What you're trying to do, what you have to do, is be exclusive and exclude them. You don't want them. That is not what you want. So I'm glad that you don't like me. You're like, I don't like guys that are bald headed. Good. See, my value to the right person, they would be like, hey, I love your bald head. And you know what I'm going to say? And I shave it every night so it's smooth for you. Because then I can add value. I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get some olive oil and some cocoa butter and put it on my skin and my scalp and keep my stuff soft. Because I am a person of value to them. So I add value. And I want to master everything about me that adds value to the relationship that I am in. See, think about it. Like, you and I, we only need to be experts in the area of value, in the area of romance for the relationship that we desire to be in. Good, nobody else has to like you. So what you want to do is you want to search for everything in you that is attracting the red flag people that you don't want. Like, don't be so quick to entertain everybody. Don't give everybody a conversation. You know, off tops. You can. I've heard this before. Like you're supposed to downplay like your desires and don't come in too hot. Don't come in telling them that you want to be married. No, forget that. I'm coming off tops. I'll tell the whole wide internet right now. I don't want a girlfriend. I want a wife. I'm like, I don't need a girlfriend. I can get a girlfriend. Girlfriends are not hard to come by. Like, come on now. I mean, like, girlfriends. No, we're not playing that game. No, I want a wife. So, like, if we're going to have, and I've been saying this since I was in 4th grade. I'm like, look, I can't be in 4th grade. I was telling girls, I can't be your boyfriend because I know I'm not going to marry you. From 4th grade. In 4th grade, they knew Brian wants to get married and have 4 kids. He doesn't need a girlfriend. He's not even thinking about that. I'm like, what? A girlfriend? A girl is just an immature version of a woman. A boy is just an immature version of a man. I never wanted a girlfriend. I'm like, no, I want a wife, or I want a woman friend at worst. I want a woman friend. I never wanted a girlfriend. That's just, to me, that was like the definition of itself. I don't want that. So when you start thinking about it, I'm like, so I'll put that out there from the jump. Now I want a wife. For somebody, I'm like, I can keep going on. I want a wife that I can pray with every day. I want a wife that will do Bible study with me. The room will start getting, it'll start getting thin, right? Somebody will be like, oh, he was cute. I'm not into the Bible study thing. I'm out. Good. It'll be like, it's like a Shark Tank. And for that reason, I'm out. Good. That's what I want. Like, I'll tell you, I'm going to tell you the things that are going to clear the room. Right? Like, it's okay. I'm not trying to have everybody stay. Look, I can tell you, as a content creator, digital creator, whatever we're called these days online, I lose people all the time simply by talking about the Bible. If I talk about the Bible, people are like, nope, I'm out. Some people don't like it, and I don't care. You know why? because my life is not, I know first of all, I'm true to me. I want to talk about what I want to talk about. I'm like, if I want to sit here and read Bible scriptures on my lives just because people want to hear me read, I'm going to do that. And if somebody doesn't like the channel, then you turn the channel, right? Like, that's okay. I would rather be around the people that appreciate who I am. And I'm saying the same thing for you. Now, I'm not going to sit there and keep entertaining red flags. If I keep seeing the same red flags over and over again, I'm going to change my message. I'm like, wait a second. What's going on in me that keeps attracting these people? What is it? Is my standard not high enough? Am I not clear about my standards? Am I not articulating it well enough so that my standards drive people away? Like, no. I want my standards, and I want you to adopt this. I want my standards to drive people away. I want my standards to drive away the people that I don't want in my life. That's the point. That's the purpose. Like, the walls around the castle are there so that the enemies stay out. I want my standards to be such that people say, I'm not even going to mess around and be negative around him because I know he's going to have a positive answer. Right? So they're like, oh, he's always got something positive to say. He gets on my nerves. Great. If that bothers you, great. Because I don't want your negativity in my life. Oh my goodness, he's so peaceful. He wants to be chill and relaxed. And I'm just more chaotic. Oh, great. You be chaotic out there, not in here. Right? Just keep on your standards. Drive people out. It's not about you. Like, but I'm going to drive people out in love. So now if you want to be just angry and bitter and general and, men are like this and women are like that, without ever having to go back around to say, what about what's inside of you? What's going on there? You're really not going to be my people. Why? Because I'm like, no, let's spend more time looking inside and doing internal introspection before we just start generalizing. Like, why is it that you keep seeing the patterns that you see? When was the last time you put yourself in a new environment around different people where you were having a different conversation? When was the last time? Perhaps you're still living on this level and the people on this level still have access to you on this level because, like here's an example. You're like, oh man, I've been wanting to start my business for so long, but I haven't started it. Right? You didn't start your business. You're like, what does this have to do with like relationships, romance, anything like that? When you didn't start your business, what happened was you not only didn't start your business, but you didn't get the education that changed your mindset, that put you around different people so that you were having different conversations and you would see yourself differently. And therefore, you stayed in the same environment that you've been in, around the same people that weren't doing anything, that weren't elevating, that weren't transforming themselves. And so you stayed in that environment and now you're frustrated and you keep attracting red flag people because you didn't make that next decision. This is why it's so important for you to grow, for you to continue to prosper, because if not, you are going to have a poverty mindset that will say things such as, there are no good men. There are no good men means that there are zero good men, meaning that you have a zero good men poverty mindset. Zero it doesn't get much more poverty minded than that unless you're going into the negative. So, like zero? Why is it that at this point in your life, you look around and you can't find good people? We talked about this a little bit last week. When the Bible says, your gift will make room for you and bring you before great men. Now, you might not believe that, but here's what I think. And here's my experience. Because I show up and I talk and I create content, I get exposed to a lot of amazing women. Now, you want to know something that's funny? I was historically shy and very awkward around women. like growing up. I was like, I didn't understand it. I used to see my friends and they could just walk up to a girl and talk to her. And I couldn't, I was like, what do you guys say? What do you do? Like, how did you just walk up? And I always needed a hookup. I always needed somebody to say, hey, this is Brian, right? I wasn't the like walk up to you type. That wasn't my, nope. I needed to be brought in on a referral. And that was my thing. I'm like, you know what? I want to, and I live that way. I said, you know what? I want to be such a good friend to the women in my life that one of them would say, you know, I want you to meet so and so. Because I learned something. In all my awkwardness and sitting back and not knowing, here's what I learned. I learned that women would date. I mean, at this point, they weren't women, they were girls. I learned that girls would date jerks, but they wouldn't be friends with them. I was like, this is interesting. You'll like go out with dude, but you won't just be friends with them. So I found myself in the friend zone a lot. Right? I'm like, okay, I'm in the friend zone. When they were crying about their boyfriends and all that stuff, they would talk to me. And so I was just, you know, I hate this part. They would say like, oh, you're just like one of the girls. I'm like, but I'm not. I'm not one of the girls. Okay. I'm not. I mean, I got that like 5 years ago when I was operating my women's gym. They'd be like, Brian, you're like one of the girls. We can talk to you about anything. I was like, but I'm not one of the girls. But I understood what they were saying. Like, I'll listen. I'll share some insights. And I got it. But being that way allowed me to learn in this. And so a very awkward young man into adulthood figured out something. I was like, it's actually not that hard to talk to women. And now I can talk to any woman, anywhere at any time if I have something to add to her life. That was it. I'm like, I figured out as long as I have something of value to add, I can spark up a conversation with no intention of getting something from her. But if I can give, if I can say, oh, can I share something with you? Or here's a thought, or if I can add something to this person's life, it became very easy. And thus, my gift of being able to be a friend, working on that gift, perfecting that gift, becoming a listener, becoming someone that could hold a secret, becoming a safe space for somebody. All this stuff, my gifts made room for me and brings me before great women all the time now. Great men. See, I don't, you're not going to hear me talk about there are no good women out there. Please, that's crazy. There's an abundance. And for that reason, I know a lot of great men. And so I always say, if you are struggling or you find yourself having a conversation where you say, there are no good this or that, you got to do a self-evaluation because there's something in you. And I know that's hard. That's challenging, but that's why you got to break out the whistle. You got to blow the play dead. You got to stop doing sometime and just start. You got to look. You got to look on the inside. You got to look on the inside. Because you have the power to change this. Like, when you become intentional about your life and you make it more about you than it is about other people, you're going to realize how much power you have to make the changes. Right? Stop telling yourself lies, for instance. Stop telling yourself that you're going to do something and don't do it. Because here's what happens. When you tell yourself that you're going to do something and then you don't do it, yourself hears you say that. And then after a while, you don't even believe in yourself, which then lowers your value to yourself because you don't have confidence in yourself. And then because of this lack of confidence in yourself that you're operating with, because you just keep draining your self-confidence with your lack of showing up, then you're going to have to find an environment that is conducive for this low level of behavior. because you know you can't be around the high performing people when you have these low standards where you can lie to yourself and not perform. And you're afraid. I'm afraid. I'm afraid of joining that group, or I'm afraid of joining the gym. I'm afraid of getting around people on the next level. I don't feel like I'm qualified. I'm afraid of, starting my YouTube channel. I'm afraid of publishing my book. What if no one wants it? What if no one reads it? I'm afraid. I'm afraid. I'm afraid. And all that fear is it's just killing you. And then it's going to leave you with red flag situations. And here's why. Because there's a vision in you. There's a dream in you. There are aspirations in you. There are things that you want. That stuff is in you. And what you are doing is you are talking yourself out of your greatest moments. You're talking yourself out of your wildest dreams because you don't believe in yourself anymore. And so with intentional living, you get to say, no, I'm going to do the uncomfortable thing. I'm going to take this step, because when I take this step, I will be renewed because I'm transforming my mind. And because I'm renewing my mind and refreshing my mind, my life is going to transform. And the people that I once saw, I won't see them anymore. Why? Because as you climb up a mountain, as you go higher up a mountain, the air changes. And when you go up a mountain and the air starts to change, guess what? Everybody's not trying to go there. As you elevate, no, everybody's not trying to go there because it costs something to go higher. That's why you have to press toward the mark for higher callings. It is not, you don't get to just get there easily. And no one should be able to be in a relationship with you easily. You need to see red flags from afar. If you know in your past, you're like, everybody I talk to, they always wanted to just sleep with me. Okay, well, let's do some evaluations. Look at everything you put out. Do you put out a vibe that makes you seem a certain kind of way? Is there a certain kind of you just got to start looking. Is there a certain kind of music? Am I not articulating to the world what my standards are? When I was in college, in high school, my mother in high school, she told me, we had to talk about birds and bees, and she told me, she said, here's what I talk about the birds and bees. I pray that if you're out there having sex, I pray that you get a disease. I was like, what? This is our talk, Mom? She was like, yeah. I was like, Mom, that's not fair. She said, you don't plan on having sex, do you? I said, no. She said, you trying to live righteously, right? I said, yes. She said, you have nothing to worry about. I was like, it's still messed up. But guess what? As I went through, I was like, look, I can just tell you off tops. I don't care if you like my body. I don't care if you like my muscles. We're not having sex. I'm not having sex with you. I'm not. It's not going to happen. So if that's what you need, sorry for you. I'm not your guy. Right? Like, you put your standards out there and your standards get to clear the room. Right? Like, your standards get to clear the room. I'm like, look, and there was a time in college. Look, I'm like, when I got out of college, I was like, oh, no, I go from 12 to 3 a.m. I go to the church and I pray. Like, I'm not just like playing around. Like, no, I'm dedicated to this. This is what I do. So I wanted to be understood. I'm like, no, this is how I am. What do you do for fun? Like, some days I would just sit and I could study my Bible for like 8-10 hours a day straight. Like, well, what do you do for fun? Well, I'm working on my business, right? Like, I'm building my business. I'm working with children. Like, here's what I do. And somebody can look at me and say, okay, it's too much. And Lord knows, I'll wear somebody out with a dream. I'm like, no, let's dream bigger. What can we do? What can we accomplish? What can we fulfill? Let's move. Let's fulfill our purpose in the earth. Somebody like, I don't want to do all that. Fine. Put your standards out there and let them, first of all, let them inspire you. Let them breathe life into you. See, when you have a dream and you have a vision and you set standards to protect that gift that is within you. The Bible says that you have a treasure within your earthen vessel, a treasure within you. If you have a treasure within you, don't you want to protect that? Sure you do. So you say, here are my standards. And as I learn myself, as I see myself more and more clearly, my standards begin to change and my standards go higher. I told the young lady that I was talking to, and I said, look, here are your standards. I said, once you've experienced something, whatever happens next takes you higher. And I shared with her the story about, I said, when I was, talking with my wife at the time, well, before she became my wife, I said, one day I was talking to her on the phone and I said, I'm gonna come over. She said, great. And I ran to her house 10 miles just because, right? I'm not a runner. I don't even like running, but I did it to set a standard. And I told her, I said, look, we're not together anymore, right? Like, I was like, but you should tell the next guy straight up, like, look, you got to at least be able to run 11 miles because my husband before, he ran 10. So I want you to at least take me to the next level, run 11. Like, figure out what's the best of your life or the best thing that you've seen and use that as a standard and then build another brick. Put another brick on top and say, yeah, you know what? My standards are this. And I said, look, if your standard is, I talked about basketball. Sometimes I use a lot of sports analogies. I said, do you know basketball has a standard? And if you shoot the ball 10 feet, it'll never go into the basket because the hoop itself is at 10 feet. So in order for a ball to go in the hoop, you have to exceed the standard of 10 feet. The basketball hoop, they set the rule. They say, here's the rule. The rule is this is a 10-foot goal. In order for you to make it, you have to go beyond 10 feet. But yet and still, we think that we're not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to have that. And we're supposed to just entertain all these red flags. If I'm standing on the sideline and I'm watching somebody shoot at 7 feet and I'm like, wow, she sure is pretty. She is fine. But that girl just keeps shooting at 7 feet. That woman keeps shooting at 7 feet. I am not about to ask her, hey, do you want to come over to my 10-foot goal? No. No, you and your fine self stay over there with 7 feet because you falling short. Nothing against you, but you got to be able to, you got to go to another level. You still need, there's some work you need to do, and we need to be okay with that. We need to be secure enough in ourselves, not desperate, secure enough in ourselves to say, sorry, not sorry, you don't meet my standard. Therefore, I'm not going to entertain you. Without apology. A very powerful word that you can learn is no. Would you like to go out? No. No, I don't. But why not? You don't have to explain. Or you could just say, my standard hasn't been met. So no, I don't want to go out because I have a different standard. And let it be okay. Doesn't make you mean. Someone would want to manipulate you with that. You're so mean. Whatever. You're not mean. You have standards. There's a difference. The standard takes care of itself. So, and I know y'all laughing at my big old mug, but it starts twitching. And plus now it's like a trademark that I have a mug that's like the size of my whole head. But anyway, so hopefully you've been encouraged, that, your standards will help you when it comes to red flags. But I'm going to tell you this, the red flag that you're looking for, internal. Check out your internal red flags. Because the ones you see on the outside, good chance they're a mirror of what's happening on the inside. Right? And let me just say this. as a collective, because I think this is very important. When more and more people, environment matters. And in a world where we live right now, where there's so much poverty mindset, there's such a poverty mindset about relationships and diminished value, right? Because that is so prevalent right now, those that have a different mindset need to pull together, need to have certain conversations, need to have a certain kind of talk, need to be operating a certain kind of way. Because I wish I had, well, right now there are lights on in this room with me. Okay. And so if I turn off, I wish I could reach one, but I can't. But if I turn off one light, the room will still be illuminated, but not as bright. And as I start turning off lights, it'll be more and more dim. But the opposite is true as well. The more lights I turn on, the more something is going to be illuminated. And so if you desire to see intentional living and an appreciation for one another and healthy and strong relationships, then you need to become one of those lights that is turned on. You need to be illuminated. Your conversation, your life needs to be a life that shows forth that kind of light. And so it's not one of those things where you just get to hide underneath, your experiences of the past, and you have all this on the inside of you that thinks and sees this way. No, you need to become that person that is shining as a light and begin to talk and share and say to people like, look, you don't have to have that negative outlook. There are some things that we can do. And yes, much of it has to do with internal work, but the work is worth it. And so the more and more of us come together and we begin to operate in a particular mindset, then the light begins to shine. Only light drives out darkness. There is no darkness, doesn't drive out darkness. So if you're you can't be like half on, half off. That's not the way it works. Either you're going to be light or you're going to be darkness. You cannot be both. And even if your light is very small right now, you're like, look, I've been through some tough things in life and I don't fully understand how to make this transformation and change my thinking. And I don't fully understand how to get out of the negative that I've been in for so long. That's okay. You have a little light. We'll just start feeding that light, start putting some more fuel to that light and get around other people. Because here's the deal. When you strike a match, the beauty about fire is when you strike a match and one flame is burning, if you strike another match and you add them together, neither flame is diminished, but they both burn brighter. And so you start getting around some other people, start having some other dialogue, start seeing some different things, start up-leveling your experience, start having those adventures, start doing the things. Then you begin to shine as a light in darkness. Things will change. I believe what we do on a regular daily basis is going to change the world. I believe that with my whole entire heart. And I've believed it for a long time. I specifically believe that women have a very major role in things because women have such power as it relates to impacting men and impacting children. There's something about a woman's voice that has a tremendous amount of impact. But if women feel like devalued and broken and hurt and wounded and just walked all over, then the conversations are going to be that kind of a place of pain instead of a place of wholeness. That's why, just so you know me, that's why like I am so serious about investing in speaking into the lives of women, because I believe that what I've seen in the Bible, the very first man, he had a job of cultivating and bringing forth life. And so if I can model that, then some other man might say, man, I like how that operates. I want to be that way too. I want to be a builder. I want to be someone that helps lift. Okay, great. See, men, we don't necessarily want to be told what to do, but if we see something and we see that it's working, you're like, oh, I want to be a part of that. And so as you shine, as you are illuminated, as you step into your purpose, as you step into your power, what happens is your voice, your dialogue, everything, it begins to change. Your demeanor, your outlook, everything begins to change, and you see something different. And And we're not operating out of a place of woundedness anymore, just passing hurts back and forth. No, it's not. Mm-mm. We're operating out of strength, operating out of wholeness. We're not saying things like, there are no good men, there are no good women. No, we don't operate that way because we know better. So I'm making a request of you that you would be aggressive about your perspective, that you would look at your life and see that you have the power to make the shifts in your conversation, in your interactions, that you can be much more bold and courageous than where you've been. And you don't have to play small anymore. You don't have to live in generalities. That is the lowest level of relationship. Generalities is the lowest level. Don't even practice being there. Practice knowing people. I share with you how in Corinthians it talks about, we know that oftentimes in 1 Corinthians 13 as the love chapter, and love is patient and love is kind. And it goes through, but down to the very end of Corinthians, it talks about how we are known. I want to know and be known. That is intimacy. To know is intimacy. Love, that's work. You're going to put in work with love. But to know, oh, that's intimacy. That means you have that means you've gone beyond something superficial. You've gone beyond generalities, but you're delving into the deep. That's where we want it. That's where the richness is. Generalities, that's not it. So with the people that are in your life, and I promise I'm getting ready to shut it down. With the people that are in your life, practice depth. Practice. You can practice at work. You can practice at home. Practice with yourself. Practice depth. Knowing yourself in more intimate ways, deeper ways. Like, what do you like? Why do you like what you like? What are your habits? What is going on in that person's life? And I'll share part of the reason I do this is because, like, my background having been a massage therapist, I'll still do this to this day. I'll watch people move, right? I'll watch someone walk. And as I watch them walk, I can tell by the way that they walk what's going on with their body. I'm like, oh, that person, their hips are a little off, or they must have sprained their ankle, or this person hunches over a little bit. And I'm watching people's body. Also, being a trainer, right? I look at people's bodies. I look how they operate. I look at their compositions and all that, right? So with that in mind, I'm practicing depth. I don't want to just see a person. I want to know what I can know about them. And if you do that, watch what happens. Your life is going to become so much richer. So let's shut it down, right? Is that shoulder high, whatever is going on, right? So let's shut it down. I'm heading to the gym because I didn't go this morning, so I need to go. But before we go, I always end with a prayer because I think it seals the deal, right? And I believe that that is, for me, this is part of my assignment, my God-given assignment. That's what I believe it to be. So I want to pray. And if you're not like a Bible person or a prayer person, it's all right. It's not going to harm you. So just hang out and let me just speak some words into your hearing that hopefully will encourage you throughout tonight and the rest of your life. So, Father, thank you for this day that you have made and given us so that we may rejoice and be glad in it. We are so grateful that you are our shepherd and we shall not want, and that you are the God of provision, that you would put us in the right atmospheres and the right environments so that we can be refreshed and renewed and fed what we need to be fed so that we can move forward in life to that next level and into life more abundantly. We fully believe that we have more within us, that there is a treasure within each and every person here. And I thank you for each and every person that is here live, those that are a part of Team Replay. I thank you for them. I thank you for the moments of time that we have together. And I pray blessings upon each one as we hear let us not just be people that hear, but let us be people that take action and do, because it's in the action that our lives begin to change and transform, and we get to see the fruit of our thoughts. Let us not just be stuck in this place of analysis and thinking what could be. Let us be bold and courageous and take steps. Let us examine ourselves so that the red flags that we may see and be presented with in life are red flags that we aren't unintentionally attracting. Help us to be intentional in our own introspection so that we can be that light that shines in darkness. Let us not carry any aspect of darkness in us. Let us not carry the pains of yesterday, the disappointments of the past, the betrayals, the missteps, or whatever it may be, even the victories. Let us not carry yesterday's victories as some monument that we are not to move beyond. Let yesterday be yesterday. And I pray that we would take our yesterdays and step into greater tomorrows, that we would move and operate without limitation and lack, that our minds would be prosperous in their thinking, that we would break free from any spirit of poverty that would just want to keep us held to what has been. Let us not stay in those places, but help us to move forward with boldness and courage and confidence, knowing that if you be for us, it doesn't matter who's against us, for we have already won. I pray blessings upon each one as we go our separate ways. I pray that you would encamp angels about them to protect them, mind, body, soul, spirit, protect their relationships, enhance and enrich their finances. I pray that someone would get started on that dream that they've been thinking about, but they haven't been moving on, so that their life can be prospered as they give their gift to the world. Others may compensate them. I just pray that this year would be a year of a regenesis and a brand new start. And I pray that tonight would be the first night of the next chapter of each of our lives. Thank you so much for your presence and the blessings of these moments. In Jesus' name, we thank you for all that will be done. And in advance, we express our gratitude to you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. Have a wonderful evening. It is always a pleasure. So glad. Miss Ruby, good to see you. Michelle. Yes, indeed. Julia Douglas. All right. So I'm heading out to go walk in the gym. Don't know that I'm lifting tonight, but I might get a few sets in. But you all have a fantastic night. Look, know that you have the power to transform your life. Don't let me break out my whistle on you. I will. Right? Don't let me see your social media and see you talking in generalities and being all negative. I'll be like blowing the whistle. If you ever see a little whistle in your comment section, then you know I caught you. Be on the lookout, right? Be on the lookout for one another. We are to be light that shines. So have a fantastic evening. My name is B.A. Shepherd, 2 P's A-R-D, reminding you to be a shepherd. The world has enough sheep. I love you much. See ya.